What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training. And today we're going to be breaking down a great wide receiver football IQ quiz to test your knowledge of the position. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and you would like a daily training schedule that you can follow, check out that very first link in the description below for our 8-week wide receiver on-field workout plan. It's 8 weeks of daily on-field route running, press release, catching workouts with the exact sets and reps to do, all put into a specific workout plan. We also give you video examples of each drill so you know what to do and know how to execute the exercise. So if you guys are interested, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that, fellas. Let's get started with this quiz. So now, if you're not familiar with our quiz style videos, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a pre-snap look. I'm going to ask you a series of questions about the look, give you a chance to pause the video, and then I'll break down why your answer was right, wrong, or whatever you're thinking, okay? So now, first example here, we're talking about this press coverage look. How would you guys run a 3-step slant versus this coverage? So how would you guys run a 3-step slant versus this coverage look? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So now, 3-step slant. Obviously, we talk a lot about how you would run a slant versus different inside shade press looks, outside shade press. But right now, what we have is we have a DB who's maybe about 2 to 3 yards off, and he is standing directly in front of us, running like some kind of catch technique, right? So when you have a catch technique DB and he's 3 yards away and you have to run a slant route, do you need to attack his outside shoulder and attack his outside hip? Should you do a diamond release and get him to open up and run? Honestly, I don't think that is necessary. So if that's what you guys said, I don't think that would necessarily be correct. Not to say that wouldn't work, as if you came off the ball and ran at his outside shoulder, that might get him to widen, that might get him to open up his hips. I just don't think we need to do it in this case. So let's play his full speed what this receiver does, because this is the correct way to run it. You see how he just kind of attacks the DB's toes and is able to run the slant. If you guys said attack his toes and close the space with him and then break to the slant, whether that was for 3 steps, whether that was for some kind of foot fire release that this receiver did, that would be correct. I just don't think it's necessary sometimes, right? Like, we get a lot of questions, guys, from receivers, and this is part of the reason why we do these videos, because we want to answer the questions that you guys send in. And guys will ask, like, well, coach, if he's like 7 yards off and I got to run a slant, what release should I do? You don't need to do it. Just go. You know what I mean? There are times where it's not that complicated, and as a receiver, you just have to go and get up into the route. And I think this is one of those times where we shouldn't make it super complicated. Now, listen, if he's inside shade, yeah, let's go right at his outside shoulder. Let's try to get him to open up, and we slip underneath. They call that a diamond release. But I don't need the diamond release when he's head up. Let's just close the space, eat up that cushion, step on his toes, and create separation that way. So I'm going to play this again full speed one more time. Great job by this receiver winning on that slant route versus that head up catch technique. Okay. So now this example here is going to be inside shade press, and this receiver is going to be running a comeback route. So on this comeback route, I want to ask you guys, do you think, this is going to be kind of a different question, do you think you should stack the DB on a comeback route? If you can, and answer that why or why not. So do you think, and if you don't know what stacking is, that's when like you give a move off the ball, take an outside release, and you get over the top, and this DB is essentially running behind you. So question is, should you stack the DB on a comeback? Why or why not? So you guys go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So on a comeback route, I'm going to play this full speed. This receiver probably could have stacked, but he did not stack, right? So why do you think we don't want to be? Because the correct answer is no. The correct answer is you do not want to stack on a comeback. You do not want to stack on a curl route. Those are probably the 2 routes where you don't want to stack. Everything else, dig, out route, post, corner, fade, you should try to stack. But comeback, curl, we don't want to stack. Because what do you have to do on a comeback to get into the break? Because it's a sharp 45 that you are breaking at, right? So it's hard to plant off of 1 foot. You're not going to speed cut it. You're not going to do that indicator cut. You got to drop your hips. So if you are stacked completely over the top of this DB, and this DB is trailing right behind you, and you break down, what's going to happen? He's going to run right into you, right? Now listen, maybe that's illegal contact downfield. Maybe we get a flag called if he runs into me and grabs me and disrupts the route. However, we don't want that. We want to catch the ball in open space, and we want to go turn up and score. I don't want freaking 10 yards, 5 yards, 15 yards, whatever the penalty might be. I want to catch the ball and go make a play happen. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want this guy to run into me. So you are better off keeping this DB like exactly how this receiver kept him, like on his inside hip, like trailing a little bit behind him. You just don't want to be directly over the top of him. So you can stack him, but just make sure you keep him on this hip. Do not get directly over the top because there's just going to be a collision and the timing is going to be disrupted at the break point. Same thing for a curl, same deal. We do not want to restack. We are better off keeping him at my hip, even if that means sacrificing a little bit of space to that sideline. A little bit of space. I didn't say a lot of space, a little bit of space. If you guys have this red line on your field, usually it's a soccer line on high school fields, that's kind of a good gauge of as far as you want to go. You should not be on this side of the red line, and that receiver was not. So let's play this thing again full speed. So to answer that question, we do not want to stack on a comeback route. We want to keep him on my inside hip. Okay, so now next example here. A little bit different of a type of question. I'm trying to mix it up a tad with these. If you're running a fade route versus inside shade press coverage, fade route versus inside shade press, obviously off the ball, we want to attack the DB's leverage, right? We don't want to just take off and run. I'm not going to ask you a basic question of how would you run a fade versus this, because I think every single one of you listening, at least I hope so, should get it right. You would want to attack him inside, try to move him inside, then run this fade. What is important after the release? So I'm not talking about restacking. What is important after the release that you do? Okay, so stacking was what we talked about in the last one. It's not stacking. That's not the answer. What is important that we do after the release on this fade route? So you guys go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So on a fade ball after the release, you need to make sure that you get skinny. So if that's what you guys said, that would be correct. So what does getting skinny mean? That means that after your release on the ball, you don't run away from the DB. Why? Why do you want to get skinny? Because you need to give the quarterback room to fade us. Just like we were talking about that comeback, that red line, that quote-unquote red line. You want to give that quarterback room to drop the ball between the numbers and the sideline. If you give this release and you get this DB to jump, but you run away instead of getting right past him, I call it getting hip to hip with the DB and getting into his cushion, into his frame. Yeah, you want to stack on this, obviously, but you have to get skinny no matter what. We cannot run away. Now I'm going to play this full speed. Now let's look at the mistake this receiver made. He runs away. So look when this ball is thrown where he is at. You see how freaking close he is to the sideline, right? Like he jumps up. He's like less than a step. Like this is out of bounds. So he's like a step away from being out of bounds. Guys, I don't care how talented your quarterback is. And some of you might make the excuse, well, that guy's an NFL quarterback, like he should be able to hit the throw. And yeah, he probably could hit the throw, but it's unlikely. That's such a tough throw for a quarterback. You need to give him room. It's called a fade ball for a reason, so he could fade you over your outside shoulder. So let's look where he went wrong, because it wasn't at the top of the break. He just gave this DB time to recover and squeeze to the sideline, and he didn't do himself any favors by running to the sideline. So you see how he gave this move? Look where his first step is. His first step is almost pointing to the sideline, hips to the sideline, shoulders to the sideline, and again, he's not getting vertical. So what does this DB have time to do? Cut off the angle because we didn't get vertical, especially when that DB is faster than us. He lost a good maybe, I would say 3-4 yards of space by running lateral first. Guys, off this release, what he should have done is he should have attacked here, had a plan to swat this DB's outside arm, because that's the only arm that can prevent an outside release. And his hip should be going right here. Swat this hand, hip to hip. So we could either stack him or we give the quarterback room. That is the name of the game. So if you guys said get skinny, that's correct. The answer was not stacking, and I'm sure some of you probably got this very easily, but do not run away. I wanted to show this example to show you guys what the incorrect way would be, because again, we need to give my quarterback room. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like an 8-week wide receiver on-field workout schedule that you can do, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that. Again, 200-plus wide receiver route running, press release, and catching drills, all with sets and reps broken down. So again, very first link in that description below. I'll see you guys next time.